what really inspired me that I was a bachelor's student, graduating in environmental science in 2014 to 17. And during my bachelor's degree, I joined this protest where there was this plastic ban protest was going in Kathmandu, Nepal. And during that time, I was not really, familiar with the harmful effects of plastic, and why we should, reduce the use of single-use plastics in our daily lives. So, as a student of environmental science, I unknowingly joined that protest, and after joining that protest, I got to know more about all the harmful effects, and also national and global policies related to plastic waste and its impacts on communities as well as at national and global level. And after that I continued my education masters in the same field, which is environmental science. And during 2019 to 22, I completed my master's degree, and then I, along with my other college friends, we decided to establish this youth-led organization called Kalpabatika Society Nepal. And the very interesting thing about this organization is that all the members, including board members, decision makers, are all women. So we also call this youth-led as well as women-led organization, and most of the members are environmental science graduates. And when we started this organization, it was more about general issues of environment conservation. We were not really sure whether to focus our work on urban areas or other particular topic of environment. But uh, but in 2023, I had the opportunity to work with a UNFAO Nepal as a project assistant, which I continued for 6 months. But then I don't know, uh, deep inside my heart, I was not really satisfied my work with the work that I was doing with the such global organization. I wanted to work with community people face to face at ground level, uh, uh, the platform which gives me more opportunity to work with the uh, grassroots level people, observing their impacts, how they are being impacted by the climate change and waste management related issues. So I left my job there, and again started my work with my own organization as a president. And from 2023 to till now, I am continuing my role as a president of the organization. And one of the major reason why we are currently working in urban area, especially in waste management system, is that when the corona hit the whole world, uh, Nepal faced so many challenges, and along with that, the most affected challenges that most of the people in urban area like Kathmandu were facing is that waste management, since we have only one landfill site in Kathmandu, and that led to you know uh, um, dumping of waste. We do not have any recycling center, as, and that led to the a collection of lot of household waste at the roads and banks of the river, which further increase the risk of diseases in Kathmandu. So at that time, we were one of the observant of that, as we were, even after the COVID ended, we had to commute for our colleges, and we saw that scenario of the hazardous waste is lying on the road all over the city. So that's how we, actually grew more on working on the waste management related issues. So yeah, and till then to now, we are more focused on waste management related issues here in Kathmandu. So
Okay,
yeah,
great. Thank you.
that's why.
um, for Leo Kylan, what inspired you to get involved into community advocacy? And we in the intro, it spoke a little about a bit about that, but maybe you can tell us in your own words how you came to work on environmental action at such a young age.
Well, the founder of my organization, Miss Ashley Gainyard, We're related, so one time I went to go stop by her house because we were driving past there. My mom thought it would be a nice surprise to go visit her. So we went into her house and we talked a little bit, and she was telling me about the organization that she had started around spring 2022, sometime during like April. She had started that organization, and I became interested in what they were doing. So, like a 5 minute just hi and bye became like a 2 hour conversation. So she invited me to join her organization. So I was like, okay, that sounds nice. And then 2 weeks later, I ended up being on the public broadcasting. So that was nice. And then I really got involved with that because there was other speaking engagements that end up coming up, and that just led to even more speaking engagements coming through. So that just caused like an influx, and I saw the effects of what it had on my environment and stuff, and I began to get passionate about it.
Hmm.
So I figured that I really did want to do this, and I wanted to continue with the organization.
That's great. Thank you. Um, Annika, what inspired you to get involved in community advocacy or environmental action as a young
Yes.
person?
For me personally, I think my biggest thing is just the place that I was situated in. Living in Florida, I feel like we bear a very large brunt of climate change, considering that we live right next to the equator. It's already so hot, and we're very prone to hurricanes. And so that was a big moving factor for me. Like I remember when my brother and I were younger, whenever there was a hurricane and we would get days off of school, we would build like little forts in our house. And that kind of like sheltered us, I think. But when my parents would tell me about the news after, I would learn about all these devastating effects that hurricanes had on different communities, even though like I wasn't directly affected. Um, my family members and such were, and it was really shocking for me as a kid to see. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it was kind of that was really the motivating factor for me. And so I began looking into why these hurricanes were happening, and I found that climate change was a big reason for that. And I knew I wanted to get involved with environmental advocacy and environmental justice, but as a younger person, I wasn't really sure how. And so that's why I formed the Broward Sierra Group Junior team, which gives these youth a voice and a say in their future. Since in reality, we're the ones that are going to be taking over all of these jobs and roles in the future. And it's very important that we have a say.
Yeah, thank you. I'll come back to you with this next question. As you've been doing this for a few years now, um, how has your purpose or your outlook on things shifted as you gain more experience? So sort of, and we'll start with you, Annika, here. Um, from when you first started to now, what's your experience there? What's happened?
So with the Broward Sierra Group, we've been able to lead a lot of youth initiated campaigns. For example, one of the big things that we're working on is the Broward Green Schools campaign, where we're working to transform our local public school district into 100% clean energy and also implement zero waste policies like composting and less plastic utensils and things like that. And we've seen very exciting progress and recognition for our efforts so far. Last December, we received a resolution from the Broward School Board saying that they were going to start making this transition towards more sustainable schools. And it was really inspiring to see, all these people at the school board, probably at the school board meeting that day, probably weren't really expecting much, but seeing this really shows how youth can make a difference when we mobilize and when we get support from adults. And in addition to that, I just think that advocating for the environment has been such a great experience. I've been able to make so many different connections, like with Race to Zero Waste and other environmental organizations that are all working towards the same thing, just working on little different sectors. Um, and yeah, so that's been my journey so far.
That's great. Maybe we could take that to Lael Kylan. Um, from when you first started and got interested in rural roots, Louisiana, how has your outlook or your purpose shifted as you've gained more experience? What have you learned?
I would say that I would mostly say that my purpose was mostly that I wanted to highlight my story and also give a light to other voices in my community because I have a big family that lives in Johnsonville, Louisiana. So some of them have been affected like directly, as in they've gotten cancer, but mine was a little bit more outside looking in. Like I saw my grandpa get cancer and I saw other family members get cancer. It wasn't like I was directly like I didn't directly get cancer, but I was still affected in a way.
Yeah.
So my purpose, I would say now, I would say it's still to show my story, but also because this is what I feel like is my passion and what I want to do in my life. So I just want to like continue to grow and continue to get better in my speaking and also land more speaking engagements. Mine is mostly about growth in this field because back then when I was in my freshman year of high school versus now being in my junior year of high school, I had different outlooks on life.
Mhm. Okay, that's great. Good for you. Now I want to take the same question to Deepa. So I think you spoke about this just a little bit earlier, how you, I believe, went to, moved to the United Nations, but then you moved back to your organization. So what is it about working locally in your organization that, why did you go back?
Uh, yeah, that's actually a question that I'm also, trying to figure out myself till now. But the thing was, when I started working, like from 2017, I had no idea like what particular topic or area of Kathmandu I will be working on. I was still puzzled, but because I mean, because all the idea that I had was environment conservation. I want, I want to work on environment conservation, but it's a very vast term that it has a lot of other sectors as well. So I was not really sure, uh, and with that thing in mind, I with all the working experience, I joined FAO Nepal, but then I realized that Uh, being a leader, youth leader, you have a lot of power. You can change a lot of lives, not only lives but communities, and also can influence the policy of your nation that can actually benefit the livelihood of vulnerable people, marginalized communities. So that I could not actually find in that organization, which led me to leave that position and work for my from my own organization. But even in our organization, we established as a organization that will work on environment conservation of Kathmandu. But then in 2023, when we got the Youth for Climate Award from UNDP Rome Center for our project enhancing urban sustainability through nature-based solution, then we realized that we should be working on this sector more, because after some research we realized that there are not many organizations that are working on the urban sector of Nepal. Most of the organization, NGOs, INGOs, even government sector is mostly focused on rural areas, for the development of rural areas and their communities. But as we all know, climate change is growing increasingly all over the world, and its impact are also increasing. So we should be more focused on urban areas as well, because urbanized areas that cannot be changed with time. Once it's urbanized, it's very hard to reform them back to its previous state. So we should be more focused on people who are living in that area as well. And we saw there is lots of possibility, and they also have challenges. So after that award in 2023, that really made us passionate about working toward the urban sector, especially Kathmandu. So yeah, that was the
That's great. That's wonderful. Kind of leads me to my next question, which I'll put to um, Anaga. Um, is there a moment where you realize that your actions, your advocacy, that youth leadership was making a difference? Was there something where you realized it was working?
Yeah, I think there's been multiple moments when I felt that, and really that's how I felt throughout like my whole work with the Broward Sierra Group junior team. But just a few that stand out. I remember one of our very first activities when we just formed and we had maybe like 3 active members was that we met with the Broward School Board chair to talk about these climate misinformation videos that were being shown in schools. And we were requesting that they stop showing these in schools because they can be very harmful. Schools are the ones that nurture the younger generation. And if schools are telling kids that climate change doesn't exist and that it's a hoax, then I think we're really setting ourselves up for failure. And so we had a meeting with the Broward School Board chair. And based on the advice and the concerns that we expressed to her, she was able to prevent these videos from being shown in local schools. And so that was just one example of um, when I saw our initiatives really being taken into consideration and actually proving to work. Another example is how I mentioned when we got the resolution passed with the Broward County School Board. And yeah, I think there's been a lot of other moments with the Seed
For the
Library
Green Schools
project.
campaign, sorry.
Yes, for the Green Schools campaign. Yeah. And then with our most recent Seed Library project, where we're giving out free seeds to the community to promote biodiversity and environmental justice. We've had over 500 people take and use seeds, and it's only growing. And it's really exciting to see that our efforts actually paid off.
That's wonderful. Good for you.
Thanks.
Leo Kylan, is there a moment where you realized that what you were doing made a difference, that it mattered?
I would say it was about 3 moments for me. I kind of have like my top three.
Okay.
My first one would probably be when me and my mom were going out shopping, and someone that she knew like came up to me in the store and started asking me like all types of questions about the work that I do. That one kind of sparked something in me and shown like what I'm doing is like important and that I'm being seen and heard by other people. Also was when I was put on a billboard on Highway 30, which is like a busy area in our region, and I had multiple people contacting me and asking me questions about that, people at school, even even on like social media from like the sponsored posts that they had on there, you could see like various like comments like encouraging me to keep on doing what I'm doing. Also, when like people like come up to me like during like conferences and they want to like talk to me and get to know me, and they're telling me how powerful my story is and how they didn't know this was happening and how I opened up a door for them.
That's really great. Why do you think, and this is still for you, Lael Kylan, why do you think community advocacy by young people for young people is especially important? Why do
I
you think?
think
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's especially important because it shows other young people that they can do the same thing as well. Because I'm right in like the middle age gap, right between like 10th and 11th grade, because I'm 16. So with that being said, there's other people the same age as me who probably we're probably just living like regular, like normal lives. And then I'm here like doing like speaking engagements. And I'm not like at the age to where I'm like 21 or 22. So I'm a little bit older and I've already like graduated high school and I'm kind of in college. Like I'm still in high school and I'm not a senior yet. So it kind of just like shows like other people, like other youth that you can do the same thing that I'm doing despite your age and despite how young you are, because I started at 14 towards the end of my ninth grade year. And we also have other people who have said they want to do the same thing and they're in eighth grade, ninth grade. And it just kind of shows that we need more youth because you're only getting older, you're not getting younger or reversing back. So it's nice, so it's good to build like the stepping stool so that somebody else can encourage other people for like the next generation of youth and so on.
Wonderful. Thank you. Back to Deepa, you know, you hear what Leo Kylan's saying, how, you know, learning these things young and getting the experience to be able to, you know, speak and communicate on these issues with others. So you kind of followed that path, and so your organization is still encouraging youth, and, you know, obviously you're still young too. But why do you think community advocacy by youth and for youth is especially important?
Uh, I think I mean, we all know it's important, and most of the time we hear our political leaders saying that, youths are the future of our country. And the perfect example of that is, you can say that our recent Gen Z protest that happened in Nepal, uh, which you must be aware of. And uh, from that protest we can take a lot of, great things about why youth should be there, why should there be a seat for youth in decision making processes, and why their advocacy is very important. Is that we all know, when we talk about youth, youths are known to be very creative, innovative, and in today's time they are more technology driven. I mean, their ideas are more technology driven, and today's time we need solutions, ideas that are, technologically advanced as well, because our community is evolving, our, society is evolving, and we need solutions that are suitable for the solution of our time. And youth are the, major, I would say, actors for that work. I strongly believe that. So I think a youth advocacy, and of course, it's not always about, supporting youth is not always about giving them funds. It's also about giving them the power to, lay out their voices in decision makings, so that they can, majority of the population in the world is of youth, so their voice really matters, because it's not only about uh, our political leaders, what they think or what they dream of our communities to be, but it's also about those who are the future, who will be the leaders in the future for our communities, for our world. So I think it's very, very important in today's time to, at least give a seat or voice, not just for the formalities, but for the change to happen in the communities. It's really important.
Okay. I'm going to direct this to Annika. What do you think, you know, youth today understand or see differently than older generations when it comes to climate issues or environmental justice issues? What do you see that we're not seeing?
Yeah, and I just wanted to like piggyback off of
Sure.
what Deepa was saying with that youth have a lot of creativity and innovation. And so I think we bring a very different perspective, as you were saying, to this environmental justice and environmental advocacy work. And so, um, wait, sorry, what was the question?
Well, it's just, do you understand or see things differently than perhaps somebody who's older than you when it comes to climate issues and environmental justice issues? Do you see a difference
Yeah.
in what people are saying and thinking?
Yeah, I think a lot of youth have a lot more empathy towards these environmental issues. Um, I think a lot of older people are more driven by profits and kind of what works in the short term, but youth are more focused on what's going to, be able to sustain them for future generations, like our kids and grandkids. And so I think that's where a lot of adults' perspectives fall short because they don't really consider what's going to happen in the future. But if we really want to sustain the planet and, continue having humans living on a sustainable planet without pollution and without climate change, then I think it's very important that we listen to these youth voices and listen to our concerns because, as everyone here has said, like we are the future and um, it's our future that is at stake.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This directed to Lael Kylan. In terms of youth leadership, what does that look like to you? What have you seen? How do you feel? And how, if you were speaking to another young person, how do they step into that? How do they become youth leaders?
I would say the first step of being a youth leader is really deciding what you want to lead, whether that be environmental justice or do you want to do more of a recycling. You need to pick your arc, or you can have several if you want to. I think you have to first decide exactly what you want to lead as and try and establish yourself as that. Having research about what you want to do, knowing the facts, basically knowing the ropes, and then also knowing how to lead, how to deal with different people, because everybody's different and you might have to shift some of your answers to somebody else versus another person. Also, you would have to find somebody who you could potentially lead, find an audience who you think would be capable of listening to you. And also, with becoming a youth leader, it's also great responsibility. So you have to be on it at all times. Like, for example, if somebody randomly comes up to you and we're like, "Hi, I would like to join your program," and then they start asking you three, four questions, you need to be able to answer that on the spot. I think it's really about being able to communicate, being flexible, and also being able to be on your feet at all times because you never know when somebody's interested in what you do, and also with feedback because other youth are going to tell you how you feel because y'all are usually maybe it depends like what group you're part of, but maybe you have like a 3 year age gap, maybe even a 10 year age gap, but it's still closer than somebody who's 40. So they're gonna tell you how you truly feel. You're gonna have to be able to take constructive criticism and continue to roll with the punches and try and align everything as well.
And further on that, if you're listening to someone, they want to get involved, but they don't know where to start. I mean, how do they start? Because I agree all of the things that you're saying about youth leadership, but they have to start somewhere. So what's your advice to somebody who's just starting out?
But my take on that is you need to decide whether you want to become a part of an already existing youth-led organization or if you want to make your own. For me personally, I started a already existing organization, but it was always meant to be youth led, but when it first started out, there wasn't that many youth. So I became one of the first youth who really stood out, and that's how I became one of the main speakers and things as well as that. So if you want to join an already existing one, I would say probably look up on Google because there's in our community, there's not that many youth-led organizations, but you can look it up because I've tried it before. You can say, is there any environmental justice led or even recycling led youth organizations around, let's say, Baton Rouge or even New Orleans, and it'll give you a list of names. And then you can go on their website and you can find out how to contact them and tell them that you're interested in joining. If you want to join your own, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to pick out your name, get that copyrighted. Also, how are you going to get money? How are you going to file for grants? So things like that are kind of hard to start when you're doing it on your own, but they are very capable. But if you want to do something a little bit where you're not as much as the boss, but you still are a leader, I would say going under somebody else's organization is pretty great.
Okay, well, thank you. To Deepa, I think we have just a few more questions, but one of the things I wanted to ask you, since you've been in this for a while, is how do you stay motivated? When it feels like things are going so slowly, or you're facing a lot of resistance to change, or how do you stay in the game? How do you keep going? and advice on that for young people?
That's actually very hard most of the time, but you have to, because you want to change your community and, change the lives of people. So the most important thing is have patience and passion at the same time, because that's something that I always carry with myself as I'm, leading my youth led organization. I have a team and I have to keep them motivated as well, and myself as well. So that's really two things that are always by my side. And second thing is, I see the results, I mean, the changes that I have made from my organization. I have somehow been able to change the lives in a positive way, lives of people. For example, I work with formal and informal waste workers of landfill site, where most of them were women. And in Nepal, uh, uh, waste worker, they do not have this proper PPE to work in the field. And because of one of our project, we were able to provide them the safety boots, and we were able to do their whole body checkup to see their health condition. And as it's very much important, mainly to women, as they are the caregiver as well of their children and the whole family, so their health matters a lot, not only in the work field but also in the family. So because of our project, we were able to support them at some level. And whenever we meet them, they always greet us very warmly and say that our project has changed their life at some level. And even that comment, that remarks from them lights up my whole mood and makes me even more motivated to work in the future. So that's how, I mean, all the beneficiaries, meeting with them, and seeing my team working so hard for the project, or even the small events, makes me I mean, makes me always motivated to work or continue my work that I'm doing right now.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Um, to Anaga, what about how youth can support other youth? So, I think this is connected to either youth who are working in different organizations or their own organizations. How do you build community?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is word of mouth, telling your friends about these organizations. That's how I got a lot of members to join the Broward Sierra group, is just by telling my friends, and a lot of them were very interested. And at first, some of them didn't really even care about the environment, but once they knew that I was involved, they were like, "Hey, might as well join, might as well support my friend." And some of them are officers now for the Broward Sierra group, and now they're actually very passionate and doing a lot of work for the environment. So it's just about kind of changing people's minds like that. And I think another amazing way to engage youth is through social media. Um, so a lot of kids nowadays use TikTok and Instagram, and by promoting what you're doing on social media, I think that engages a lot of students. But it has to be in a way that's engaging and not like boring, because kids these days don't have very high attention spans. So it's important that um, whatever you're posting online is engaging for these students. And another thing is offering incentives. A lot of kids are applying to colleges and they need service hours to graduate. And so I've been able to find with the Broward Sierra group that by offering service hours to students, it incentivizes them a lot more to get involved. Um, and it's kind of the same thing, like at first, maybe they're just doing it for the service hours to get enough credit to graduate, but then they actually end up getting really involved and really passionate about the environment. So it just starts with a little spark like that.
Okay. Good advice. And we're here at our final question, and then we're going to move to question and answer with our audience today. So maybe we can start with Deepa. How can, other people, so how can older people, older generations, how can we support youth-led movements in a way that is meaningful, in a way that's respectful? What do you need us to do, or how can we help? How can we best help?
Yeah. Uh, in my opinion, how older people, older generation, our older leaders can actually support youth-led movements is that uh, first they really need to listen our what we are trying to say, what action we need, uh, you know uh, truly hearing youth perspective without immediately offering correction or imposing traditional frameworks. And second is we need to youth movement should have the power, not just a platform, but we need to have the power so that we can raise our voices for what we actually need in places like decision make policies and decision making platforms, at even at a local or national level, or even a global level. So that's, I think, for today's time, that is the most important thing for any youth led movements or youth leader. And also to provide resources, as I have already mentioned, youth led movements is not only about providing them fundings only. We need resources such as in case of newly established youth-led movement, sometimes what we really need is a space to, conduct our events and our campaigns. But we see in our cases, whenever we try to, go for collaboration for local government, they always start by saying how much you need, and that's what not we always need, the money or the funding, but what we need is their support as well. Because if we are working with the community, we need to gain the trust of community people, and by the support of local government or authorities, uh, uh, if we have their support and say that the municipality is supporting this program, they will trust us more to participate in the projects or our campaigns. So that's what we really need from local governments, and as well as the national government as well. So I think that those three are the most important at this moment for any youth led movement to take a shape in the community, both the national or global level.
Thank you. Same question to Lael Kylan. How can older people best support youth-led movements in a meaningful way, in a respectful way? What do you need from us?
I think it kind of depends on what like age group you're looking at when you say older, but because of like how the generations are kind of faced. I kind of have experience with like both sides since my dad's 57 and my mom's 48. And even like our organization, our founder, she's about 47 years old, and the rest of us most of us are all teenagers. We do have some people who have like just recently turned 13, up to college students who are about 22 years old. So I would say it definitely depends on the age group. When you're talking about somebody who's in the early or late Gen X or even early like millennial, I would say for them it's mostly about understanding because it's kind of hard to change their minds at the same time, but but usually they have like kids or they even have nieces or nephews who are around the same age as us, so they kind of understand what they're getting at. And mostly what we need is their support, whether that be through like social media or even telling us like, oh, I saw what y'all have done, I even like reshared or posted. It's mainly about like reaching other people, reaching like a broader and like larger audience about what we do, and what we do is important, as well as not facing like as much opposition from that generation. And when you're talking about people who are more on like the 50 side and up, like my dad, it's kind of harder to kind of change their minds because they're kind of like stuck and rooted in their ways. So I would say for that generation, I would say it would mostly be understanding like where we come from and also looking back at their life and seeing if they saw something similar and trying to connect the two together. I would say that would mostly be it. It's mostly about understanding what we're going through and being able to help us, whether that be through a like or repost, even like reaching out or saying, hey, I would love to sponsor you guys for this event, or even something like that. Even like the little things matter.
Wonderful. Thank you. And finally, to Annika, same question. How can people best support youth-led movements in a meaningful way, in a respectful way? What do you need?
So to bring this back to the Broward Green Schools campaign that we've been working on, it hasn't just been entirely student-led. We've had so much help from adults, and without the adults from all these different organizations like the Sierra Club and Climate Reality, we wouldn't have the same connections to elected officials like we do right now. Um, and so I think that's been a very big help that they've already had these pre-established connections, some adults, and we're able to make our voices heard through those mediums. And I know you mentioned respect in how adults can help us as well. And I think a big thing is letting us speak our voices. For the Green Schools campaign specifically, usually it's not the adults that are leading the meetings. They're the ones that set up the meetings, but at the end of the day, the youth are the ones that are speaking and actively asking for the change. And first of all, I think that's more encouraging to see as an elected official that the youth are speaking, and it's very impressive as well. And second of all, it shows that we're the ones that really care and we're not just having adults speak on our behalf. So it's very important to hear our voices from the source, I would say. And sorry, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's a big way adults can help. And to back off of what Lael, Kylan said, and Deepa said, just any support that helps us build connections and really listening to what our experiences are and helping to amplify that is always amazing.
That's great. Thank you, Annika. I want to thank our speakers today, or our guests today, Deepa Lama and Lael Kylan Judson and Annika Iyer. And we have a few minutes left for question and answer. So there might be some questions from the YouTube live chat, or we might have some questions from our audience here today. So do we have any questions?
I have a question. Hi, everyone. You guys are amazing. I love to see women, youth, leaders of color. You are the bosses. And so I have a very specific question to Annika about your experience with some of I watched your video this week to sort of learn what you were working on. So I watched and learned about how you were dealing with this information from Prager University that was introduced to the Broward County schools. Had that information already been implemented and then there was pushback, or were you on the end of, hey, we're thinking about putting this into the schools? What do you think? Or was it already in the schools?
Yeah, so this took place in the summer between my freshman and sophomore years. So 2 years ago, the state of Florida was planning on implementing those PragerU videos into public schools throughout the state. And then the Broward Sierra group stepped up, had a meeting with the Broward school board chair, and specifically told her how detrimental this would be. And she was completely on board and willing to, not follow these standards and not show these videos at school because, she knew how harmful this could be for nurturing our future generations and teaching them about all of these environmental issues that we care so much about.
Okay, just one little follow-up question. How long did that process take? Was it quick? Was it months to not have the Prager sort of non-science educational materials there?
Yeah, I mean, it was super fast. We set up a meeting with the Broward School Board chair, brought this issue to her attention, and she immediately got on it, got the ball rolling, and stopped these videos from being shown in the Broward district.
Thank you. I live in a very small city in California, Northern California, and Prager University has a very large imprint now. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting to hear directly from you on how quickly that change was able to take place. And I would love to see, how you continue to manage that relationship, given your current governor and what the political climate might be around education. So thank you so much for that answer.
Of course. Thank you for your question.
Do we have any more questions? You can click the react button down there and raise your hand, or put your question in chat and Myrna will read it for you. If not, I would like to ask each one of you just then to close this out. I mean, there may be something that I didn't ask today or something that came up while we were talking that you feel is an important addition to talk about today. So not to put you on the spot, but Deepa or Anaga or Leo Kylan, is there something else that you would like to add to our discussion today? And just go ahead and unmute and start.
I mean, I would just say that it's very inspiring to see people like Deepa and Leo Kylan really taking on these initiatives, especially Leo Kylan. Like, she's still a junior in high school and she started when she was a freshman. And I really like how you have a very personal connection and you really acted on that. And it's very inspiring to see that.
Great. Deepa, any last words?
Yeah, just like Anaga said, I mean, I'm sure Anaga and both Lyle, they both are younger than me, and they are great speakers, and of course that they are doing great in their communities, working for the community and environment. It was so inspiring. I mean, one of the thing that inspired me has added on the list. There's two speakers, and one thing I would like to add is that uh, to upcoming youth leaders who are hoping to have their own organization, youth-led organization, in terms of youth-led organization where we work for the environment sustainability, sustainable communities, making our community great and pollution free and all that. But one of the major challenge for any youth-led organization is the sustainability of that organization itself, because we work youth work voluntarily, and it's not the case that all the team members or youth, they come from a privileged background. So sometimes it may be very heavy, it can be very heavy for youth to whether continue with their organization or go for a 9 to 5 job or any other corporate offices to work. So you really need to have that clear vision, or and that passion, if you are really want to establish your own youth-led organization. So I just want to say that for any future upcoming youth leader, be clear on what you want to do, and have that clear vision for your future. So that's it. Thank you so much for this
Thank you,
opportunity.
Deepa. We did have a question that came in from YouTube, and I'll direct that to Leo Kylan. What are your next steps? Like, what are you working on now? And let us know a little bit about what your focus is.
So a little bit of what we're working on right now is trying to stop like any further industries from coming in, because we have the Hyundai plant that wants to come in our area, and as well as additional plants. So we've been trying to stop other plants from coming in and teaching people the importance of their land and why not to sell it, and also figuring out like who has like made up their mind about selling, so we can try and convince the rest of those people why you shouldn't sell to the industry, since we already have so many and they are continuing to encroach upon us and the people in the city. And also my next steps, as far as right now and like my own personal goals, I would say is now I'm doing like more speaking engagements than what I did about last year. Like in the fall, I only had one. This fall, I've attended 3. So I'm continuing to get better at what I'm doing and also continuing to better my speaking as well. And I'm also trying to establish myself in like the environmental justice and recycling community. I'm just trying to further where I'm up from right now because the only way to go from now is up. So I'm just trying to continue to build on the building blocks that I already laid my freshman year.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lael Kylan. And lastly, the question from YouTube, someone had, and I'll pose this one to Annika. I think you're a senior, right? So what are your next steps? What does college look like? You know, how are you going to take what you've done as a youth leader into college?
Yeah, so obviously I won't be in Broward County, or not obviously, but I probably won't end up being in Broward County when I go to college. But wherever I go, whether it's the Northeast or California or the Midwest, or if I stay in Florida, um, I really want to continue mobilizing more youth, and maybe it'll end up being high schoolers again, maybe it'll be college students, but I'm excited to join different clubs in college and get access to a lot more connections that I maybe wouldn't have in high school. Um, and as for the Broward Sierra group, I hope I can continue mentoring the future leaders during this summer and through the next summers. And I obviously want to stay involved, and I think it's a great group. And I hope it lasts a long time and they continue this mission that we've started.
Thank you. We're at time. I think we could keep going, but I want to offer my sincere thanks to Deepa Lama from joining us from Nepal, and to Annika Iyer and to Lael Kylan Judson for being such great speakers today. And thank you so much. And I know I speak for the audience as well on that. Just one note for the Zero Waste Month interview series. Our last interview will be on October 29th, and that theme is Zero Waste Baby. So again, if you're thinking about becoming a mom in the future, or you're a grandmother or your current mother, we have some really great interviewees for that too. And so please join us then. And thank you again. We'll see you there. Bye-bye.
Thank you.